Hi, Isaac. So it was good to talk to you on the phone the other day. Thanks for coming in. Before we start, I just want to go over our privacy policy. So this is a mock counseling session. The information you share will only be shared with my professor and classmates, and then everything will be deleted after the class is done. Its purpose is for training and supervision.
Okay.
The contents of this session are confidential. And if you have any questions during or you feel uncomfortable, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So all of that is included here. So if you could just sign that,
Sure.
saying you understand what we discussed. Okay. So I understand that you wanted to talk about your current work situation.
Yeah. So a little while ago, like before I guess this school year, I was working at a corporate job. I was and in public relations, and well, I quit for two reasons. One was that I was used to doing a bunch of teaching jobs, and I got very used to having summer vacation. And then when summer came around and I wasn't on vacation, that felt bad.
Yeah.
So I wanted to quit, and then and then also it seemed to make sense for me. A lot of my friends and family and my wife are on a teaching calendar, and it seemed to make sense. And I've taught before, so it seemed to make sense to transition my career to teaching. But then when I started doing that, taking classes to get my teaching certification and doing this current teaching job, which I'm doing to try to sort of build up my resume, I felt miserable. I felt pretty unhappy about it, and I don't, partly I'm regretful, maybe partly it's hard to tell how much is like that I might have made the wrong decision, or just that the job I'm doing right now isn't very fulfilling.
Okay.
It's hard to do something every day that you feel like is really, it's very frustrating, and I feel like I'm just doing it to jump through a hoop to get on to the next step, and I just feel sort of unhappy and oppressed while I'm there.
Okay.
And I can give you more detail about exactly what the job is,
right.
But I don't.
So you were in this job before.
Yeah.
That you.
I was there for about a year.
You did I
liked it. I didn't see. I think I liked it on a day-to-day basis. I just reached a certain age where I felt like I needed to do something. Instead of bouncing around from a bunch of things, I needed to do something that was like a long-term career.
Right.
And I couldn't really see myself doing like public relations for this large corporation for 30 years.
Okay. And so you wanted something that would match your family schedule and wanted to have that vacation time, which seemed important to you. But now that you've switched, you're not really sure how much you like it, or if it's... Are you more...
Yeah, well, it's like when you... So it's like when I taught college classes before, so I wasn't teaching high school, this now I'm teaching high school, I thought I liked it. But now I'm having... It's not that I... It's hard to know if what I don't like is teaching or if what I don't like is this school. But still, even if you're not sure, leaving behind a job that you enjoy and pays pretty well is stressful, and you can't just walk back. It's an irrevocable decision. Or, unless you want to go beg for your old job, which I don't really.
Right, and it sounds like you've made other big changes, like starting certification,
right,
training.
I started school to get certified, and that's a big step. It's one of those things like I'm taking all these classes and spending a bunch of money and doing this job I don't like, all to get a career that I'm not positive I want, and it feels like I'm taking, and that's it's terrifying.
Right, it's a big hoop to jump through if you're not 100% sure.
Right, and I don't know how to be 100% sure.
Right, and it's hard to know if one can be 100% sure when they're doing something for the first time or starting something that's a new career.
Yeah.
Is there things about your current job that are a lot less fulfilling than when you taught college?
Yeah, I think it's two things. So one is that there's just not much appreciation from anybody at the school. So it's a religious school, and I don't teach religion, I teach English language arts. But in the mornings they do religious studies, and then in the afternoons they do regular stuff. And they don't really, the students and the people who run the school and the parents don't really care about the general subjects like English and math and stuff.
Right.
And so it just feels like a pretty thankless job. And then when you're there, you're sort of tortured by these kids who are very poorly behaved, and it's sort of been taught that your class doesn't matter. And so, you know, it has a combination of being frustrating when you're there because they're so poorly behaved, and there's not really any systems in place to, you know, get them in line or punish them for any of their transgressions, because, you know, if they misbehave in their general studies class, no one really cares except for me or whoever's teaching them. So it's a combination of, like, I'm not being paid that well, and it's not particularly fulfilling, and when I'm actually there, it's very frustrating, and it takes up a ton of, it takes up, you know, a full-time job's worth of stuff, even though it's really only like 3/4 time, and I'm getting paid like about half as much as a full-time teaching job.
Right, so you went from a full-time job where you felt relatively satisfied and felt like you were making decent pay to a job where you feel like you're doing potentially more work but not being appreciated for it.
Yes, and I think teaching is inherently that. I think it's really hard to argue that you're doing something good for society when you're working in public relations for a large corporation. And at least in teaching, I can do that, but it's hard to feel that on a daily basis when I'm doing a pretty thankless teaching job. And again, it's like I'm just doing all of this with the hope that a more real full-time teaching job will be more fulfilling, and I'm enjoying it, but it's really hard to do all that without a guarantee.
Right. And since the school year's been going on for a little while, since you've had this job now for a number of months, has there been any parts of it that have become more fulfilling, like as you've gotten to know the students?
Yeah, I like my personal relationships with the students, and there are times at which I feel, you know, at the beginning, it felt like every class period was going to be endless and was like complete torture the whole time. And now, sometimes days, you know, regular school days go by without any real incident, without me feeling like so oppressed. So in that sense, it's gotten a little bit better. There aren't really things that I wouldn't say there's anything I've got to like enjoy about it though. There are times when a class does go well that I have like a little window into the potential sort of good world of having like a slightly better teaching job in the future, but it's just hard to know. It's like I don't have enough data.
Right. And, you know, having gone to a high school that you thought was well run.
Yeah, I did like my high school.
Do you think that this job will kind of give you almost like trial by fire type thing where
it might,
you know, if you've had experience with other high schools and you know this isn't the norm, if you've gotten to experience this really tough job but found some redeemable things about it, that maybe then you can look forward to future teaching, that you can say, well, then if I can get something out of this job, then I'll definitely be able to get some joy out of.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Teaching. I think, you know, if I have a period at school class that more resembles what I saw when I was a high school student, and I enjoyed being a high school student, and I thought, hey, being a high school teacher would be pretty cool. When I have classes that are more like that, it does make me think that, you know, if that was the case, 7 out of 10 classes instead of 1 out of 10 classes, that I might find the job more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because there are moments when someone seems to appreciate learning something that, it's not like I expect, you know, kids to come thank me at the end of every day. I mean, that would be nice, but it's not going to happen. You know, that's not how school works. Like, they're teenagers. They're not supposed to be like actively appreciative. It just would be nice if the whole sort of school and school community weren't actively sort of thwarting all of your good intentions.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, yes, I think it does give me a hope that sort of trial by fire kind of thing will make me appreciate at least a better job.
Right.
I hope. We'll see. There's no guarantee I get that job.
You get what job?
Whatever better teaching job exists.
Well, if you've experienced other schools and this school seems particularly poorly run.
Right, that's true.
You
For some,
can
I
say,
have observed other schools that look
right,
more.
so you
That's
could
true.
say, well, you know, it's a good chance you're going to get a job eventually, that the chances are it's going to be better run than your current
but like
situation.
the fact that it's like chances are still makes me feel really anxious. That is a possibility I'm going to go through all of this and end up, in the same spot I am now.
How likely do you think that is that you will get certified and then literally not be able to find a job?
It's probably unlikely, but I don't know.
Like, do you think that there's a chance that you
I don't know what the
could
statistics say.
actively look for a job for a considerable amount of time and not be able to find any teaching job, considering that you have one now without a certification?
I think it's possible. But I'm a there's almost nothing on the pessimistic side I can't imagine happening. I can imagine all sorts of horrible things.
Yes, we can imagine them, but think about
sure
what's likely, right? Like,
yes,
anything
can
happen.
If I were a data scientist and looking at this in like a completely objective way, it is likely, maybe not immediately, but it is likely I will be able to find some kind of teaching job that does some combination of like pay better, appreciate better, and provide me with more fulfilling classroom opportunities. It is likely.
Because I could imagine that if you were just focused on the what ifs, all of your emotions could sort of attach to that, and that's really scary. Like the what if I never get a job,
Yeah.
Whereas if you more think about actively try to think about what if the good things, people tend not to do that, which it's like not easy at all to do that. But we don't tend to say, what if this good thing happens? We usually tend to say, what if this awful thing happens? But, to try to think about what the likelihood is that the good thing will happen. So that it,
Yeah, I mean, I agree it's likely, but then it just brings me back to, okay, let's say I get that job. I still don't have a guarantee, I still don't know if I'm going to like teaching long term. And I've gone through all this.
You didn't have a guarantee you would continue to like your corporate job.
That's true, but I wasn't investing. In that situation, I wasn't investing in anything for the long term. I wasn't giving up. I wasn't A, paying money and putting in time to go to school for it.
Right.
And then B, I wasn't doing a job like I am at this school where it feels like a placeholder or just something to boost my, for my future resume. It was just, we didn't have the same kind of investment.
Right. I get what you're saying. I could see you seeing this job as more than a placeholder, though, or just like a resume builder. If it seems like, especially with the behaviors you're having to deal with, you're building skills that you might not have been able to build at other places.
That's true. I'm building skills that I wouldn't be able to build at other places, or even skills I would be able to build at other places, but it's still skills worth building. It isn't as though I haven't got, I've certainly learned. It's really not fair to suggest that it's only a placeholder or resume builder. I mean, I have learned a good deal doing it. And it's not as though I've never got anything out of it. It's not as though I don't get anything out of it. It's just that the frustrations outweigh a lot of the benefits, that it makes it hard to see the benefits. Like the benefits are like a little sliver of light, and then there's just like this big cloud of all this other stuff. It's hard to see.
So you said that one of the benefits of moving to this career was more time with your family. Have you seen some of those benefits yet? Like, are you able to sort of see that part of it and enjoy that part of it, or not so much?
I am. I do. It's hard to, the problem, I think, and this is maybe, I don't know if this is a general problem people have or just a problem I have, it's hard to actively enjoy things you start taking for granted. Like, it's hard to sit around and think, oh, well, I'm healthy, I should be thankful for my health, I should be happy because I'm healthy. And it's the same thing with that. It's like, I do enjoy having the extra time off. I can take a spring break vacation, I can take vacation in the summer. It is nice to have the extra time, but it's also something I had before and I more or less took for granted, and I'm probably going back to taking it for granted now. It's hard to actively appreciate it.
Have you ever like try to actively appreciate it.
What do you mean, like sort of sit around and think?
Yeah, think like, okay, so you're planning for your spring break trip.
Mm-hmm.
And to sit around and think, like, if I
Well, it's going to get ruined
this...
by coronavirus, so.
Yes. If this weren't happening.
If we weren't in a once-in-a-century pandemic. Yes.
To actively sit there and be planning this trip and think, like, if I didn't make that decision, I would not be planning this trip right now. I wouldn't be enjoying this time. Or, to be on the trip and say, like, I would not be doing this if I didn't make that decision.
I should do that. I don't think I do that enough.
It's not an easy
thing. It is.
I'm not saying I do it, but I think, it's like people recommend, write thankful journals, and, and a lot of people tend not to do it, but there's like studies show that it actually does boost your happiness if you purposefully, actively sit there and list things that you're thankful for, list things that are going well, but not saying it's easy.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, but I think that's worth doing. Setting aside some sort of time, or at least if I'm on that vacation or while I'm planning it, actively appreciate that I have that opportunity.
And it's a little more clear cut than like, I'm healthy, so I should be happy. It's more like, I am literally planning this thing right now, or I am on this week. I would not have this if I did not make that decision. Yeah. So, like, even though today at work sucked, tonight I'm planning this awesome vacation that I would not be going on if I didn't have that job.
I think I should do that more. I do do it, sometimes. It's just hard, when the thing you're doing is like an everyday process and you're constantly, especially if it's a disadvantage advantage and disadvantage of teaching, but it's that, you take your work home with you. So it's something I'm doing not only every day at school, but also thinking about and working on after school and outside of it. So it's hard when that's like always on your mind. It's still, even if I am taking those moments to actively appreciate it, if that thing that I'm doing every day is making me unhappy, it's hard to overcome that, even if I can actively think of
it's hard to disconnect from it or to sort of compartmentalize it if you're unhappy about it.
I guess so.
Yeah, that can be difficult.